Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Now, look, in today's episode, I'm going to obviously deviate a little bit from some of our normal topics, and I want to just briefly touch base on what happened in Texas regarding the Karmelo Anthony trial, in which he was recently, within a matter of hours ago, was found guilty of murdering Austin Metcalf. Now, first, what I want to say is this. This is a classic example of no impulse control. Again, an example of limited to no impulse control. Hey, he disrespected me, he dissed me, and now I'm going to escalate to the most extreme violence possible. Right? That's what happened. Now, at the same time, Karmelo Anthony had a horrible legal defense strategy. Absolutely horrible. They could have gone with alternate paths. They could have made different decisions, just like Karmelo Anthony could have made different decisions, as could have the defense team for Karmelo Anthony. Again, instead of going the route of a possible manslaughter or going the route of an imperfect use of force, even then it could have been difficult, but I think it would have given them a better pathway to possibly seeing the conviction, not murder, but manslaughter. They didn't go that route. They immediately, the Karmelo Anthony defense, went the route of race baiting and bringing in outside agitators within the community, and trying to make this a question of race. I mean, it didn't work. It absolutely backfired on them in many different ways. It just did. Now, first, what could have prevented all of this from happening? How could have Karmelo Anthony chose a different pathway that may have ended a lot differently for him, right? Well, first off, if he would have just attempted to remove himself from the scene, and we know he did not do that, right? If he would have done that, and even if those two individuals, the Metcalf twins, would have placed hands on him, there was recourse for him. Again, back out of the situation, go find a law enforcement officer, a school official, and say, hey, I was just assaulted by these two individuals over by that tent, and I would like something done about it. That's not what happened. Instead, he pulls out a knife, a pocket knife, that he had, with intent, unfolded and used it as a weapon to stab the victim. Now, during this trial, it does not appear that any form of intent was attempted to be articulated by the defense team. It was all or nothing. It was an all or nothing strategy, right? But intent also plays into this, right? And the only way that they could have utilized a imperfect self-defense strategy would have been to place Karmelo Anthony on the stand. Now, it's possible that the defense believed that Carmelo Anthony would have done more harm than good for his defense. But realistically, that was their only hope. And they wasted it. They squandered it. Realistically, the family, the Carmelo Anthony family, who was sent hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars by black nationalists wanting this individual to get off scot-free, could have purchased better attorneys. Why not have a white attorney? And then have that white attorney, again, position this as an imperfect defense. An imperfect defense. And that also entails attempting to articulate intent. Hey, I did not mean to kill Austin. Yes, I stabbed him. I was afraid, and yes, I stabbed him, but I did not believe it was going to kill him. Right? The defense could have articulated, hey, and they could have used other scenarios that have happened within the realm of sports in which people are assaulted and ultimately die from a physical assault in which actual weapons are not utilized, right? Case example, on the stand, Carmelo Anthony could have claimed, hey, look, I believe they were going to grab me and body slam me, and I could have then hit my head. And I was thinking that I was going to strike my head, and maybe I have had a undiagnosed possible aneurysm in my brain, and I could have been killed. And out of fear and not fully understanding what my penknife was going to do, I reached out and I did, in an attempt at what I believed at the time was self-defense. And what I know now, I would not have done that, but at the time, I believed I could have been seriously injured. They didn't do that at all. And that is probably the route that they should have taken. But again, hindsight, difficult to call, right? The defense probably did not believe he would do well on the stand. And that's part of the reason why they didn't do it. But again, that's why you hire competent attorneys that can coach and then put you on the stand to answer those questions and try to rationalize why you did what you did. Again, not in hope of getting off, because that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to play the race card and create this environment that the jury pool would be tainted by this hostile black mob, and they would just find him not guilty. And it didn't happen. It backfired on him. Having those individuals, those crowds of blacks outside the courtroom, jumping up and down and raising hell, did more harm than good. It continues as we speak. This is going to set race relations in the United States back. More back than even what it is right now. It just is. And again, because of the defense team and what the defense team did in terms of bringing in the Black Panthers and Black Lives Matter and these far left-wing groups to show up and raise hell and try and force a verdict, try and force what they wanted to have happen, and it didn't work. Didn't work. Probably should have taken a plea deal. Probably should have attempted to get manslaughter. And if not, then they definitely should have gone the route of an imperfect defense and attempted to articulate my intent as Karmelo Anthony. My intent was not to kill. My intent was to lash out, retreat, because I believe these two big brothers were going to assault me. Would I do it again? I don't know. But I didn't believe that this little knife that I had was going to kill him. I did not want to kill Austin. I was defending myself in an imperfect way. But they didn't do that. Not even close. And it's probably going to have that individual, Mr. Anthony, spend many, many, many years in state prison. But again, there is information out there that would indicate that Karmelo Anthony is a complete thuglet, and there has been other issues that because of the liberal school system did not cause prosecution, when in all probability Karmelo Anthony could have been prosecuted for other reported reasons that have happened in his school, in terms of him assaulting and getting into fights and just being a terror. And again, lack of impulse control. We can't say this was an impoverished black kid that's lashing out at society. Comes from a fairly wealthy family and has had a fairly good upbringing in terms of privilege, right? Economic privilege. But again, lack of impulse control leads to violence, and in this case, justice was served. Now, again, was it a good defense? No, but that was a poor decision by Karmelo Anthony and his family to hire those inept, incompetent attorneys that decided to take the route that they chose to provide that sort of defense, which did not work. It did not work. And there you have it. And that is my take on what has happened and what has transpired in this Karmelo Anthony trial. As always, thank you for joining us. More to come very, very soon. Have a good day.